advanced manufacturing. All right, good evening. I'd like to call this evening's planning board meeting to order. We'll get started with review and approval of the minutes from January 9th, 2025. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes from January 9th?
Yes.
I wasn't here.
Absent.
So do you have any questions or concerns about the minutes?
I do not.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Yes, I make a motion to approve the minutes from January 9th, 2025.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, review and sign bills. There are none this evening that we need to concern ourselves with. Next up, board member comments. Does any member of the board have items they wish to bring up this evening?
No
Anna?
comments, Chair.
Steve?
Yeah, the only comments I would make is that since the time of our last meeting, our Beal School decision was affirmed by the land court, and the attempt to override the town meeting vote relative to MBTA communities fell short.
Thank you.
No comment.
No comments?
I'd like to add one.
Sure, sure.
I did read the decision, and I think thanks to Chris and the planning board office that they did a good job. The judge really kind of highlighted the thorough job that the board and the planning department did on that aspect.
Certainly,
Thanks.
certainly. Thank you very much. On to staff report.
None this evening.
Okay. All right, meetings and hearings. First meeting this evening is a proposed two-family conversion site plan approval. This is a new public hearing for 9 Wolcott Road. Wouldn't mind reading the legal notice?
The Shrewsbury Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday evening, February 6th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Select Board's hearing room at the Richard D. Carney Municipal Office Building, 100 Maple Avenue, to hear the application of Habibola Amani, 9 Walcott Road, Shrewsbury, Mass. 01545, for site plan approval by the Planning Board as required by the Town of Shrewsbury zoning bylaw, Section 7, F3, to construct a second unit to have a two-family dwelling as shown on plans entitled Proposed Building Plan, dated September 29, 2024, prepared by B&R Land Survey, Incorporated, P.O. Box 102, Worcester, Mass. 01613, stamped by Robert J. Smith, PLS, consisting of one page. The subject project is located at 9 Walcott Road, southerly of Beach Road and west of Maple Avenue, and consists in whole or in part of Shrewsbury Assessors Tax 32, Plot 354000. Copy of the application, plans, and reports may be seen in the office of the Planning and Economic Development Department at the Richard D. Carney Municipal Office Building, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury, Mass., and on the Planning Board website at www.shrewsburyma.gov/ongoing projects.
Great, thank you very much. Do we have anyone here this evening to present on this project? Yes, sir, if you'd like to come up and,
My name is Habib Amani. I'm the owner.
You can have a seat.
would you like to just talk through a bit of what you're looking to do at the
Yep.
site?
We had an addition in my home, and we built the 2-floor, and now we request to change it to 2-family. And everything is ready just to go, but at the end they said you should get the permit to make it 2-family.
Sure, okay. Okay.
So
Chris?
I can provide some additional context. So the applicant submitted plans for an addition. They did receive a variance to add an addition for the single-family home and an in-home occupation in 2023, April of 2023. Those variances were granted. The request now is primarily for, the scope of work is all interior within that addition. So it is a conversion of a single family to a two-family. However, it does trigger site plan approval with the planning board. So that's why the applicant is here this evening. Somewhat of a unique case since the addition has already been constructed under that in-home occupation use, but this is a conversion.
It's just a change of use, essentially.
Essentially, yeah. So, but again, with the newness of the addition, we felt that it, did not warrant that language in the conversion that it exists prior to the adoption of the bylaw. So, so they are here as if it's a new two-family. But again, it's largely been constructed. The scope of work is all interior. We do have one outstanding comment in the permit from engineering, which notes some sidewalk encroachment and asks for plan revisions. And I do note, given the project scope, there are a number of waivers that would need to be requested. Again, given that this is all interior work, I don't think that there's largely any issue with those waivers, but defer to the board in that account. But I think that can certainly be handled between now and the next meeting.
Okay. Okay. There any board comments, questions on this matter?
Yeah, quick question, Chair. The variance you referred to in April 2023, was there something that we granted, the board granted, or?
Zoning Board of
Zoning
Appeals, so the addition for the in-home use required some minor dimensional relief, and so that was granted in terms of setbacks and lot frontage. So.
Yeah. And in terms of current trigger for planning board review at this time, which criteria would that be?
Yeah, so this would be site plan approval only. The criteria that we'd be reviewing it under is. Sorry. Article 4 submission requirements and the site plan approval criteria. Again, I think that's where the bulk of the waivers would be required. I would recommend, given the scope of this, many of those requirements are probably too stringent. The applicant has submitted a plot plan. I also pulled from the building permit the actual floor plans, and I provided that to the board, just as some additional context of what is being proposed in the scope of work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Steve? Yeah.
Question for Chris through the chair. Are there any exemptions under Section 6, Chapter 48 for this lot?
So the variances do grant relief.
In
Some
terms of lots,
dimensional
in terms of lot size for a two-family?
So not for two families. So those variances were granted under the premise of a single-family addition.
Okay, for the dimensional requirements, because in a residence B2, that was pretty substantial variance they granted, that from 30 to 24, and the side was 30 to 11.
Correct.
Okay.
It he might have been entitled to it, but there was already a pre-existing structure.
So this addition was there, and there was this recent project a second story on the same addition on the side? Is that what happened? Okay. So just so that I'm clear, is the application for site plan approval, or is the application for a change of use for a special permit to go to a two-family?
Sorry, it's just, the application is just for site plan approval
All right.
for this board.
Okay.
Does,
So the conversion of a single family to two-family, sorry, I was providing additional context, but that use is allowable by right in the Res B2 zoning district, so.
Okay.
does he have the requisite frontage?
You sure?
He does not have the frontage, no. For a single family, it's pre-existing non-conforming
I
in
thought,
area and frontage.
I thought for residence B2 that it was to go to a two-family was a special permit by the planning board, based on section 7, table 2. I thought.
He's making it more non-conforming. That's the issue. How many square feet is it, by the way? The addition?
The addition, 625.
You might be able to get an ADU anyhow. But we haven't adopted that bylaw,
Not yet.
so I wonder whether, because he lacks the requisite frontage, he got a variance for the in-home use, and he put the structure up. Does the variance stick to the change in use? I guess that's my question.
I believe, so those questions might have to be answered with the zoning board of appeals, an additional relief granted, if it warrants that.
You know, Ms.
We're-
Sheehan is gonna raise it,
Correct, yep. Correct.
but it all might get mooted by the ADU.
Right.
It's only 625 feet. But I don't know that we have authority. Can always give him site plan approval saying that subject to any relief he may need from the zoning board.
Or do you have to wait for the zoning board to provide the relief?
So I think it becomes a chicken and the egg kind of a situation. Either the ZBA can grant or the planning board can grant. It doesn't negate
Yeah.
those additional requirements.
I don't wanna hold him up. The structure is up,
Yeah.
and if it's only 625 feet, he doesn't have any floor area ratio issues, right?
For a two-family, he does. Yeah, and it's section 6, table 1, is residence B2 district, two-family dwelling, special permit, planning board. But if that's, I may be confusing the issue that you're applying for if this is just site plan approval, not special permit for a two-family. But it looks like that would fall under the purview of this board.
Right.
But he still has to apply for it.
Right.
So that would be in addition to
The
What
site
is-
plan
the site
approval.
plan approval.
Because there's no way the building department's gonna issue a CO if he's out of compliance with the FAR
Yeah,
or,
based on the calculations, the FAR is .51, where .30 is allowed, and we would have the ability to even go 10% higher than that based on the bylaw, but it's substantially over between the main house and the two-story addition. And I don't even think the assessor's page has the second floor on it. They just have
it's an interesting legal issue, okay, whether the variance, I don't think it is, I think he still needs a special permit.
So the conversion, so the provision that they're enacting is the one-family dwelling conversion to a two-family dwelling, which is a by right use in the Res B2 district. So the use is allowable by right. The structure was granted variances
Yes,
for single-family use.
but at the time it was he lacks the requisite frontage.
Correct.
Was it 125 feet in the Res B2 for duplex?
It's 100 foot,
150.
150.
or sorry, 100 foot for single family, and it goes up to 150 for two family. And the existing frontage is 98 feet, so it's a pre-existing non-conforming lot.
Yeah, there's a minimum lot area of 20,000 square feet for it, too. Which
It may get mooted by the ADU.
Right.
So do we need to get an answer on if it,
Well-
this,
I think Mr. Amani's gotta go to an attorney and figure out his best option for moving this forward. You know, I don't mind giving friendly suggestions, but this board isn't in the, shouldn't be, you know, redoing permitting for applicants. You know, I feel for Mr. Armani, but it's an issue that I don't know the answer to.
Actually, I wait 2 years for this project, and when we apply for the two-family, and I went through a lot to have everything's ready, to be everything ready. And when I talked with Patty, they said we don't have any problem and issue to be two-family, but just we need the approval for planning and for site plan. And I don't know, again, we should go through any,
Well, maybe Patty should talk to Attorney Madow's and
So-
find out his take on this.
Right, I mean, I would suggest the applicant should
Why don't you continue
unpack.
for like 2 months?
Yeah, I think the applicant should unpack some of the legal issues. I think part of the complexity of this project, frankly, and I'm a little bit thrown off by the suggestion that it's been 2 years for this two-family conversion, which has only recently been applied for.
Yeah.
The project has gone through significant changes, being an addition for an in-home use for a single family, and it's changed in the premise of what the addition has been several times. So,
Conceptually, I don't have a problem with it, but what I worry about for Mr. Amani is he's gonna do all this work potentially, and then someone's, at the time he goes for his OC,
it's not
they're gonna say, well, you needed a special permit.
Yep.
correct.
But the ADU may moot it all, if he's only 625 feet.
Right, if it meets the guidelines of that which are forthcoming,
Yeah, I think that
with the separate entrance and everything, which it looks like it does, he'd be
Yeah.
well within those
Yeah, I think the
parameters.
ADU preempts our FAR bylaw.
Yep.
But that's another issue that Mr. Madaus can opine on.
Okay, so it sounds as if we should look to continue this hearing until we have a little bit more, well, until the applicant has a bit more clarification of the next, of the path
I don't
forward
think-
on this.
Are there members from the public,
Oh,
maybe?
yes, thank you. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this matter this evening? Okay.
You're not here for this?
Out there.
Huh?
Yeah, we prefer the next one.
Oh. They've requested to continue the next one.
Please on.
Oh,
And is it getting granted?
Okay,
no,
No, to continue.
well, let's just,
let's
let me
the
deal
one
with this
finish-
first.
Let's just,
I just don't want to have you here.
all right, so is there a motion to continue the hearing on 9 Walcott Road?
It's, Mr. Amani, do you understand what we're saying?
yeah.
We're not trying to hold you up. We think that you probably would get the special permit. I'm not guaranteeing it. But I want to make sure that you have all your permits. So when you go to pull the occupancy certificate for the second unit, they give it to you. You don't get hung up again.
Means I should go through getting a special permit again?
I don't know that yet.
So I think just to clarify the discussion and kind of, I think, synthesize next steps, what I'd recommended, what I'd like to do is to work with the building inspector and town council to review any outstanding permits that may be required with the board's action on a site plan approval. To provide that, we'll get some kind of a narrative, either from our office or from Madaus, that will provide that clarity.
As to whether he's got to comply with FAR, whether he needs a special permit. And again, the ADU bylaw, which we're talking about tonight, may moot it, but it may throw off your timing. How long? We're doing your work, so I anticipate us needing a continuance till April. I'm not gonna be here in March, and I think I'd like to sit on it.
I'm okay with that if other.
Mr. Amani, you
Mr.
okay with
Amani,
that?
would you be,
If there is no any choices, because I wait, I can say for the permit, we had the issue first with the fire residence, and we went through a lot. We make everything ready for a building department. At the end, they said, no, you should go for the
Site plan approval?
site plan. And we did everything for them. We make the floor ready and to do anything they want. I lost a lot of, energy to put on them, and now it's so cold. I told them, please, if you can allow me to just put the insulation, and after we can do the interior
Well, how
and
different?
finish everything.
Well, how different is the insulation
Insulation is
for the
help me to
two-family
save-
versus your home occupation?
They didn't allow me. They said no. After this meeting, you can go forward. And I told them now 3 months. All heat is I pay a lot. Just they didn't allow me, and they stopped me to do any interior. Just depends of this meeting. I lost last meeting. Everything was ready, but I didn't put on the newspaper. And again, I'm losing the time. But if they allow me to do, I can wait, But they didn't allow me to touch that second floor still, and I don't know what's the next plan.
I'm not, we could probably give you site plan approval,
Mhm.
but I think you need a special permit.
is it possible to have a conversation with the building department to at least allow for the insulation component of this to be done, so that while,
That's a building department call. I
Yeah.
can't speak for them. Again, I think we'll do what we can to resolve some of these questions and add some clarity from a legal standpoint, permitting standpoint with building. I think we have tried to do that to this stage, to the extent that we can. And I just would repeat, I think, the recommendation at the beginning of this meeting by Mr. Rotalakis that, it may be worth it for the applicant to have some outside help, an attorney to help him unpack some of these. There's limits to what we can provide in terms of that service.
Question through the chair again?
Yes.
Just to clarify, is this a by right district for a two-family? Or is this, would that require a special permit based on section 6, table 1?
B2, yeah, provided you have 150 feet of frontage,
Well, she doesn't.
which
Right.
it doesn't.
So it's not a by right.
Right, that's what I was asking about the variance. Does the I think the variance probably sticks with the structure, but in terms of dimensionally, in terms of the setbacks, but
Yeah.
I don't know whether it sticks with the use. I don't know,
I'm not sure.
because the uses
different,
are different.
yeah. I don't know.
So perhaps should we continue this till our next meeting, see if we can at least start to get some clarification on these items, and if need be, look at a continuance to to April.
I'll watch it. I can watch it. And I'll be back in April.
Okay,
So you want to continue it till?
Yeah, if everyone is willing, let's
just
plan to
continue it to April.
continue.
Maybe Patty tells us we're all wrong. And Madhouse tells us we're all wrong.
All right, is there a motion to continue 9 Walcott Road special, site plan approval hearing till the April meeting, which is April?
Is it 4th? Oh, March 6th.
Oh, to March 6th, yes, March 6th
At
at
7
7
p.m.
o'clock.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
okay,
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
thank you. And I should follow with Patty about this,
You can follow up with the planning office.
planning? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a good
Thank you.
night.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is a new public hearing for preliminary subdivision, Aoud Drive, at 239 and 247 Boylston Street. Want to read the legal notice?
Yes.
We're gonna
Find it.
read, but we're not gonna open.
Hang on.
We're gonna
Right.
read the legal notice, but not open.
Great.
Other than-
Put it. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Do you have another copy of the legal notice?
I have it here somewhere. Here
Ah,
it is.
there it is, never
Sorry.
mind. Got it.
Are we discussing that, the item tonight?
No,
No.
no,
But
this will be continued.
So
till-
I'll read the
I'll give an
legal notice
explanation
first.
All right,
after the.
just let us,
I'll read the legal notice
Okay.
first. Pursuant to MGL Chapter 41, 81-S, as amended, the Shrewsbury Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday evening, February 6th, 2025, 7 p.m. in the Select Board's hearing room at the Richard D. Carney Municipal Office Building, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury, to review a proposed preliminary subdivision as shown on plans entitled, quote, Aoud Drive, dated July 15th, 2024, prepared by Land Planning, Inc., 214 Worcester Street, North Grafton, Mass. 01536, stamped by Norman G. Hill, professional engineer, PLS, and 1 Sheets, located on the westerly side of Boylston Street, and proposing the creation of a subdivision roadway and 1 new lot on land presently shown on the Shrewsbury Assessors maps as 2 lots identified as Shrewsbury Assessors Tax Plate 10, Plot 043000, and Tax Plate 10, Plot 045000. The owner is Nicholas Aoud, 235 Boylston Street, Shrewsbury, Mass. 01545, identified as Shrewsbury Assessors Tax Plate 10, Plot 043001. A copy of the application plans and reports may be seen in the Office of the Planning and Economic Development Department at the Richard D. Carney Municipal Office Building, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury, Mass., and on the Planning Board website at www.shrewsburyma.gov/ongoing projects.
thank you.
So we do have a request to continue this evening, so that's a request by the applicant for the board to move this public hearing to the March 6th meeting. So for the benefit of the public, that just means that we would have this same process on the 6th, and public comment would continue for that period. So feel free, in the meantime, to contact the planning office. We're happy to go over plans and discuss with you, or forward any written communication to the board as well in that.
And they're only looking for a,
Off a month?
That we're off.
yeah,
Correct.
and they're only looking for,
Good question.
it's not an open hearing, but go ahead.
So the current owner of that property is Evan Foldy, according to,
Okay. So Mr. Iudi probably has it under site control.
I'm sorry,
Mr. Iudi probably has it under P&S, so he's,
for the contingent,
so he's in, yeah, so he's
so he
entitled.
doesn't own it.
But he's entitled, if he has it site control, if he's got the site under control, he's entitled to apply for a permit. But
Thank you.
one thing I would point out to you, this is just a preliminary subdivision. If we approved this and we gave him some waivers, he'd still have to come back for a definitive subdivision. So even if we approve this preliminary subdivision, doesn't mean he can start construction. He's gotta file a definitive.
So if we have objections to it, what do? We come to the next meeting, or we wait till another
You
meeting?
can come,
So I always recommend that if there's questions or objections or concerns, that they contact the planning office in between meetings to discuss those with us, and then attend the public hearings to express those to
Yeah.
the board as well.
but
You
always,
know, I've sent you some questions and you responded. I got answers to some of them. I just wanted to express my feelings about the area and the impact and, you know.
Understood, yeah, so we haven't opened
Absolutely,
a
and I-
public hearing currently, but we'll do that
Yeah.
March 6th, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
sorry you had to come out.
Nice night to come out.
Oh, yeah, lovely.
Do you post delays like this online before the meeting, or you have to show up to find out?
It's usually on the agenda. We try to note it as much as we can if there's a request to continue.
This was noted yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have it.
So just check or call,
I'm sorry?
just check the website or call Chris
Yeah.
the day before and find out if they're going forward for the morning.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Drive safe going home.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
All right, next, proposed parking site plan approval for Capri Property Investments LLC. This is a continued public hearing for 516 Boston Turnpike.
Madam Chair, Kevin Quinn, Quinn Engineering. I'm here on behalf of Capital Property Investments, the applicant. We were before the board in December. At the conclusion of that meeting, the planning board had two requests. One, staff was requested to make contact with the fire department, seek input, and also, we were requested to submit architectural floor plans to the planning board. Plans were submitted to the board in the month of December. We received comments from Deputy Fire Chief Weigold, December 24th, and we met with Fire Chief Colby on December 27th. Based on that meeting, Chief Colby had two comments. One, he asked that the 4 parallel spaces on the east side of the building, which, if you're looking from the street, this is on this side here, if you will. Parallel spaces beside the building. He asked that they be relocated. He also asked the loading zone be relocated so as not to impede emergency apparatus access. We did resubmit plans that show the parallel spaces relocated to the rear of the site, and the loading zone has been relocated to a truck dock on the east side of the building. In association with that, we request a waiver to allow a loading zone that's 32 feet in length versus in lieu of the 40 feet normally required. Chief Colby did submit through the site that he approved our plan. He had no further comments on our plan, and he supported the request for the dimensional relief. We believe we've submitted everything that the board had asked of us. I'd be happy to answer questions, if I may. Oh, if I may, though, I have one question myself.
Certainly.
4 members, the board's composed right now of 4 members. Are all 4 members of this board entitled to vote tonight?
Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
I thought so. I
Yes.
thought so. Yeah. Okay. Okay, good.
Mr. Quinn, can you speak to, this was one of the items that we discussed before about entrances, where the main entrance is in terms of where are the restaurant patrons going to be coming and going, and
I can. Essentially, there's a doorway on the east side of the building, and patrons will be entering through, there's a corridor through the building. The restaurant is actually on the west side of the building. There's a corridor through the center of the building, which is how patrons of the restaurant will get in to the restaurant from the parking area.
so you're not anticipating, well, as best you possibly can, to not have them walking along on this side of the building to go in?
Yeah, I mean, patrons are gonna have to cross the parking lot, no doubt about it. It's It's a long skinny site and a long skinny parking area.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if there's, Chris, if there's an opportunity to kind of do a little bit extra signage to try to push the patrons into one particular location so they aren't walking in paths that are going to be used by all traffic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's probably opportunity I could work with the applicant in terms of signage. Ultimately, Patty Sheehan, we have that condition, and as a standard condition that Patty Sheehan would, the building inspector approves all final signage. We do have certain signage requirements, but in terms of site circulation, I think there's probably some leeway in there as well. We could look at some of the parking signage. What comes to mind is, Via and some of those other locations have, kind of signage related to parking for certain businesses to provide that
Yeah.
kind of clarity. We could direct traffic towards those parking spaces more.
Okay. Do any other board members have questions, comments?
Yes. Kevin, the plan, the restaurant plan that was submitted in December was for 57 seats, said right on the plan.
Correct.
Is that changed?
It does.
Is there a new plan that we can have to show that?
Actually, there isn't, but let me explain the plan. First of all, site plan review does not require us to submit an architectural plan. The plan that we submitted to you is actually what we call a proof plan. The prospective tenant hired an architect, and that architect was charged with developing a plan that proves to him that he can develop the restaurant he wants in the space that he's seeking to lease from the owner of the property. It's not the final plan, it's not even close. But that wouldn't, the number of seats that some architect tries to show there doesn't matter.
Well,
Here's why.
isn't this about parking and
It is,
the number
it
of
is,
spaces?
but
So
the key is-
isn't that pertinent to the whole?
It
thing?
is, except one thing. This board is boss. Planning board is boss. You can write a site plan approval that says, this is limited to 40 seats. And if they come in with a building permit application and an architectural plan that shows 41 seats, Patty will reject that. You have a very active building department. They're very good. Secondly, my client has an agreement with his prospective tenant that says you can build a restaurant with 40 seats. So, the architect who did that plan is not under my control. He's not even under my client's control. He's under the control of the prospective tenant. So we submitted the plan because we had access to a plan that was useful. I don't even have control. That architect would not take direction from me if I told him to.
Sure.
Just so you understand that our decision will say not to exceed.
I would urge you to put a condition in there that says that, absolutely.
So, in terms of the number of businesses in this building, Kevin, we have Bombay Restaurant, we have the Cabinet Shop, which is Ridgemark Remodeling.
Yes.
The detail shop is DJ Detailing Co. There's a warehouse in the back that almost looks like it's a business, I don't know what it is. And then there's also a big sign on the front, the northeast part that is for Northeast Kitchen. It's, no pun intended, it's the northeast portion of the building.
Yes.
It's for Northeast Kitchen and Bath Showroom.
Right.
Is there any open permits on this building?
Not to my knowledge, but
Because it looks like they're building out that space for this design showroom for the kitchen and bath
I
business.
can tell you this, every landlord who owns commercial space is constantly, and especially if they have unoccupied space, they're constantly trying to get tenants to take the space.
Understood.
That's what they do, and they work nights and weekends to get that space filled. I honestly cannot address who they're trying to draw in, or even necessarily how they'll comply with the zoning and code requirements of doing that. It's a challenge that they have to live with all the time. So I can only ask the board act on the application that's in front of you, and I cannot address these other signs or people that are prospectively trying to get into the building.
Well, that's what I alluded to last time, Kevin. We're taking you at face value for what you're proposing on your plan for the number of parking spaces, but in reality, it's something different that's actually at the site. So how do I address that?
Well, I would say to you that the application in front of you is for a restaurant. It's for the restaurant. We've shown you the space within the building where it's to be located. And it's, as I say, I can't address other opportunities that my client has to fill his building. He's gonna do everything in his power to get that building filled. And you may see me again in front of you shortly with another plan. That's my guy's being successful. What he's trying to do, though, is take this building that is currently grossly underutilized and do something to bring it to a higher and better use. The restaurant is a huge step for him. These other things, I don't frankly know if they're real or not, but they can't come in front of, they can't go into the building if they don't comply with the zoning requirements and the building code. And I guess that's the most I can offer you, is that I ask the board to look at and act on the restaurant, and other areas of that building, my guy desperately hopes to fill. And that's his job, that's what he's trying to do. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Well, if this is about parking and and according to your plan, this, 42 spaces meets the criteria, but if, for example, the cabinet shop is 1,800 square feet, that's not 6 spaces, that's 7. And then if I add northeast kitchen and bath, he doesn't have the number of spaces here for this
Actually,
property.
Chris had commented on the parking, and we responded to his comment. Our use of what we re-looked at the bylaw based on discussion with Chris.
Yeah.
And we called it personal services. And that actually increased the parking requirements by 1 space. So
Okay.
it's actually 43 total spaces, and that's kind of it for that parking lot. The other option for him would be to do some major reconstruction in the future to generate more parking for other uses. But the current uses, as articulated on our plan, are there, and we would ask the board, again, be aware of that and act on it. We have to make this case with the building department as well, as far as parking goes.
So if we say 40, not to exceed 40 seats and with 43 dedicated parking spots?
Yep.
In the decision?
Yes.
Okay.
But we're restricting if he brings in a tenant, or if northeast kitchen and bath, I'm assuming they need parking too.
They do.
He doesn't have it.
I know, it's a moving target. To be honest with you, it's a moving target, and that's kind of the nature of all of our commercial clients. That's kind of what they, especially when they have a building that's as underutilized as this building. As far as these other people, when they come in, they have to go and get a building permit to do improvements, and they're gonna have to figure out parking at that time. And other code issues.
Yeah. But there is no parking, Kevin, that's the point. There's no additional parking other than the 42 or 43 spaces here.
So the permitted uses right now would be what's in front of you. And they'll have to, they'll have to come up with something else, other space, or we've looked at a couple of options. Demo some of your building to create parking. That may be something they have to consider. We've had fairly lengthy discussions with my client on their options for parking, and they're very limited, to be frank with you.
So just to clarify, so what you're asking of the board right now is to vote on the parking spaces for the restaurant, Ridgemark remodeling, DJ's detailing, and the warehouse.
That's correct. That's correct, sir. Yep.
Okay.
So again, how many, does the restaurant require 43 seats? No.
No, the total of those uses.
Right, require 43 seats.
Yep.
Okay. Because I remember there was.
The restaurant requires 25
Right, I remember there was
parking spaces.
an issue down at the old beanery.
Okay.
Yeah, there's certainly no on-street parking here.
Right. All right, so you're gonna say,
All right.
or we don't have,
One more
we don't have a
point-
decision.
One more point of
anyway.
clarification. So there's a huge list of requested waivers here too, for all the landscaping, the 15-foot buffer. That, we're voting on those as well, right?
That's correct.
We don't have a decision.
No, so, so there's no draft decision. We would still, I think the request for this evening would be to close the hearing, and then we would draft a decision. The board would then, at their March meeting, vote on those waivers and the decision as a whole, so, and we could look at those conditions in the meantime,
Okay.
so.
So we can say a restaurant not to exceed 40 spaces with, 40 seats, with 43 designated parking spaces for the use of, I don't care how they use them, the restaurant, the detailing guy, and whatever the other uses that are falling within Kevin's site plan application.
So just to kind of narrow, I think, or put more clarity to, I think, what signage would be appropriate for the parking for this site. I think, given the concerns and the circulation as described, I think just a sign that says, the Bombay parking located to the rear, to encourage that parking to go towards that rear entrance rather than in the front, and to take up those spaces and create that circulation issue. If the board feels that that's appropriate, I think that's a condition that we could certainly impose.
Okay. Other questions, comments from the board? All right, hearing none, can I get a motion to close this hearing?
I move that we close the public hearing on the application for site plan approval for 516 Boston Turnpike.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so what we will plan to do is draft up a decision. We'll put some of the conditions that we discussed this evening and present for our next board meeting in March.
Great.
Good?
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you,
Kevin.
Kevin.
Good night.
Next on the agenda is the proposed gas station site plan approval, Lake 20 LLC, 193 Hartford Turnpike. That hearing is being continued to the March 6th.
So, yeah, I did have a request that I would just pose to the board from the applicant, if we could consider a special meeting, just for it being delayed. I defer to the board if that's appropriate, but they don't want to delay all the way to the March meeting if possible.
I guess,
I don't care, I have a conflict. You guys do what you want.
I don't think that we
Yeah,
can make that decision with two of us.
Yeah. Failing a
As-
quorum.
Yeah, so
Understood.
I don't think that that's a decision that we can make this evening. All right, so for the time being, we'll continue this hearing until the March 6th meeting. Okay.
You need 'em.
Oh, is there a motion to continue?
I can't vote on it.
I move that the proposed gas station site plan approval project continue up until March 6, 2025 meeting.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, next, new business, discussing the proposed zoning amendments for referral to the select board. We have three this evening. Accessory dwelling units, section 2 definition for easements and frontage, and section 2 definition mixed-use development vertical mix.
Thank you. I'll take these in bulk. So this is just for referral to the select board. Out of these items, the accessory dwelling units, the board did refer those at the previous meeting, but I wanted to hold that in as a discussion item if needed. The section 2 definition easements and frontage, the board will likewise be familiar. That was prior on, recommended to the select board, but we later pulled that back. prior to placing it on the warrant for this last town meeting. And then in terms of the third, the vertical mixed use, we do have a recommendation from town council that we take no action on that this evening. So the request tonight would be just to refer the accessory, just to refer the accessory dwelling units and the easements and frontage articles to select board for placement on the May town meeting warrant.
Okay, is there any questions, comments, discussion on those two items from the board?
No questions.
Steve?
My only question is, are we gonna allow are we gonna consider ADUs for two families that, whether it's a district that has a mix of singles and twos?
Can you just rephrase the question?
Say the Res B, for instance, has a mix of singles and twos, allowable with different area and, dimension requirements. The way the statute was written, it said single-family zoning, but in fact, in a Residence B, there is single-family zoning as of right, but there also happens to be duplex or two-family. So would we consider an ADU for someone with a pre-existing two-family dwelling?
Correct. So my reading of the statute and interpretation of that in discussion with the building inspector is that if it's an ADU for a single-family home, they would utilize the single-family setbacks, as that's the primary use of the property. In cases where there is a two-family dwelling unit and they propose an accessory dwelling to that primary residential use, they would be required to meet the two-family setbacks in that instance. That's my understanding of it. Again, I think, having just recently gotten the final guidelines, we're still fine-tuning our interpretations on some of that, so.
I think that makes sense.
I think we look to the primary use of
Right.
what this ADU is being attached
It
to.
has,
is the
it has to be
setbacks.
owner occupied in any event, whether it's a single family or a two family.
Correct.
Okay, Tim, do you have any?
I do not.
Okay. All right, so I think that we'd like to entertain a motion to refer the accessory dwelling units in section 2 definition easements and frontage to the select board for inclusion in the May town meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item, review.
Coming back to us, though.
Yes, so
Yeah.
it'll come back for a public hearing, correct, in March.
Warrant article, yeah. Okay.
Next item, review and discuss post-occupancy traffic monitoring program results for Centec Park North.
Yeah, so this is part of the condition of the permits is at certain stages, the applicant has to provide the post-occupancy traffic monitoring program. This item is there, we, provided that material to you. I did refer this to the DPW as well, but I think, fairly recently received, so if we have any additional comments in relation to that, we'll bring that back to the board's attention and the applicant, but that condition, that material has been provided, and so that condition is satisfied pending that final approval.
Okay, great. Questions, comments, discussion from the board?
No, not a conflict.
You all set?
No comments, no questions.
Okay, next. Vote to correct decision on, excuse me, on 440 Hartford Turnpike site plan modification.
Thank you. So this is a vote to correct the decision for 440 Hartford Turnpike. What was noted is there's, as provided on the drive, some minor amendments, primarily related simply to the applicant owner that was referenced. So not substantive to the actual substance of the decision, but more administrative in nature of referencing the correct applicant owner, so.
Okay, great. So so we have to can I get a motion to correct that decision for the 440 Hartford Turnpike site plan modification?
I'm recusing myself.
I move the motion to correct the decision for 440 Hartford Turnpike site plan modification.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Okay. Next item is related to, is a vote to correct decision for 299 Hartford Turnpike site plan and special permits.
So this is a holdover from last month's agenda, so we've already voted to approve this correction, so I would just ask that we pass over it.
Okay. Fair. Next item, discuss and vote to issue the bond for 1317 Avon Ave, also known as 56 Oregon Avenue.
So this is a subdivision on 56 Oregon Avenue and connecting Avon Avenue. We have the performance bond, which has not been in place yet. The project was prior permitted, but has not kind of moved forward at this stage. But it does have all the requisite permits. The applicant reached out, is now willing to move forward, and has asked to post the bond to complete the work of that subdivision. So the bond amount would be $48,200, and I believe we received that check already.
48,000, you said?
$48,200.
Any questions, comments, or concerns related to this item?
Is that the covenant release?
It's the bond.
Oh, he's posted the money?
It is posted the money, yep.
So you're gonna come in for a covenant release next meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
Anything else? Can I get a motion to vote on, to issue the bond for 1317 Avon Ave?
I move that we issue the bond for the subdivision for 13-17 Avon Avenue, also known as 56 Oregon Avenue, in the amount of $46,200.
48,000?
$48,200, excuse me.
Okay.
Amend my motion.
Is there, all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent, okay. Next item is to discuss and vote to issue the bond for 50 Centec Boulevard, 12 Centennial Drive, 414 to 428 Cherry Street, and 46R Clue Street, the UPS project.
Thank you. So for this project, the applicant has been working diligently to get through the pre-construction phase and looking to do initial site work and breaking ground. So working through that process, one of the outstanding items is to post bond for this project. And the requisite amount of $91,900 and $9.85. The applicant has provided that fund and has signed the bond document, so have that in order as well.
Is there any questions or comments on this matter? See, we have someone from UPS on the call.
Correct. Yep.
I gotta
Not sure.
recuse myself.
Okay. Do you have anything that you wanted to add to this, or? Jeff?
No, okay, thank you very much. I think Chris covered everything, but if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board?
No.
If not, can I get a motion to vote to issue the bond for 50 Centec Boulevard, 12 Centennial Drive, 414, 428 Cherry Street, and 46R Clue Street?
Yes, I make a motion to vote to issue the bond for 50 Centec Boulevard, 12 Centennial Drive, 414 to 428 Cherry Street, and 46R Clue Street, the UPS project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I didn't mention the amount, is that okay?
It's okay.
All right. Next is any old business this evening?
None this evening.
And
Oh,
just
it's already done, I'm sorry.
note correspondence that there's been some emails received dated January 14th and 17th, 2025 from Mr. Peter Mancuso with regard to the AU Drive subdivision. So those have been received. No other items this evening.
I move that we conclude this evening's public hearings.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. This meeting's adjourned.